Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking there is something wrong with everyone except you? Have you ever found yourself complaining about people all day long, yet feeling more and more tired, more and more stuck, as if the whole world is against you and no one ever really changes? Maybe it starts with something small. You see a colleague who is always late, and your mind immediately jumps to, so irresponsible. You hear a family member repeat the same complaint, and you think, why are they so childish? You scroll through social media, see other people's posts, and whisper inside, so fake, so show-off, so shallow. On the surface, you aren't just telling the truth. You aren't just seeing people clearly, but quietly, without you noticing. This habit of constantly seeing others as the problem is shaping your whole life. You carry a permanent tightness in your chest. You feel lonely, as if no one is good enough to truly connect with. You are full of anger, disappointment, contempt, or coldness. And the more you criticize others, the more life sends you people who trigger your frustration. At some point, you begin to wonder deep inside, why do I always meet this kind of person? Why does no one seem normal? Why is everyone so difficult? There is a simple but powerful answer. And you always feel that others are the problem. Your life is sending you a mirror. The mirror is not there to prove that other people are perfect. It is there to show you that real spiritual growth does not begin when you finally find a world full of good people. It begins when you finally stop using your eyes only to stare at other people's faults and start turning the light back to your own mind. Real practice is not becoming a professional fault finder. Real practice is learning to see clearly how your own heart reacts, judges, resists, and projects. It is easy to say, they are selfish, they are rude, they are immature, they are wrong. It is much harder to ask, what is happening inside me when I see this? What does my reaction say about my own wounds, my own attachments, my own expectations? And yet, without this turning inward, all the seeing clearly you think you are doing is just another form of blindness. Let us slow down and really walk through this, step by step, like two friends having a long, honest conversation. Think about a recent time when someone's behavior made you very angry, not just a nit, but deeply angry. Maybe they did not reply to your messages. Maybe they contradicted you in public. Maybe they failed to do something they promised. You told yourself that anyone would be angry. It is obviously their fault. But let us look more closely. When their action happened, what story did your mind immediately create? It'd say, they did not respect me, course they never care about me, course people always let me down, or I must not be important. That story did not come from them. It came from your own history. It came from your old wounds of being ignored, rejected, or disappointed. Our behavior pressed a button that was already there, a lit a flame that was already soaked in gasoline. Fire is real, the pain is real, but the source of the gasoline is inside you, not in them. If you only focus on their mistake, you will spend your life changing people, changing jobs, changing cities, changing partners, thinking that the next one will finally not trigger you. But unless you look at the gasoline in your own heart, every new person will eventually light the same fire. This is why some people keep meeting the same situation again and again with different faces. Different pause, same feeling of not being appreciated. Different partner, same feeling of being abandoned. Different friends, same feeling of being used or misunderstood. On the outside, the characters change. On the inside, the story remains exactly the same. So, real practice is not endlessly analyzing other people's personalities or endlessly listing their faults. Real practice is gently asking, what pattern inside me keeps attracting and creating this experience? What am I supposed to see about myself here? Let us explore 3 common examples where this shows up. First, the person who always sees clearly how others are wrong. You know this type. Maybe you have been this type. It can tell you everything wrong with their boss, their parents, their friends, their government, their society. If always have reasons, examples, arguments, logic, listening to them, it almost sounds like the whole world is broken. But if you look at their life, you often find that they are stuck. Their work does not flow. Their relationships are tense. Their mind is always occupied with judging and complaining. The more they see, the less peace they have. What is happening? They are using seeing through others as a substitute for seeing themselves. They are using their sharpness outward to avoid turning it inward. It feels powerful to say, I understand everything about people. It is uncomfortable to admit, I do not understand myself. But until you understand yourself, your understanding of others will always be twisted by your own unresolved issues. For example, if you secretly feel insecure about your own abilities, you may always see others as arrogant show-offs. If you have a deep fear of being lied to, you may always see others as fake or dishonest, even when they are being genuine. If you carry shame about your past, you may always see others as judgmental, even when they are simply setting normal boundaries. In all these cases, your inner lines is coloring everything you see. Second, the person who always needs to be the good one. This person says things like, I treat everyone well, I always give my best, I am always sincere, and then, in the next sentence, but people are so ungrateful, others are so selfish, and no one is as good as me. On the surface, this looks like righteousness. But underneath, there is a subtle arrogance and a deep want. If you constantly need to be the good one, and others the bad ones, it usually means you cannot tolerate facing your own darker sides. You have no space inside to accept that you also have selfishness, laziness, jealousy, or cruelty. So you create a custom. You play the role of the victim saint. I am always the one who gives and suffers. Others are always the ones who take and hurt. This role might bring you some sympathy, but it will never bring you growth. It keeps you stuck in a fixed identity. Real practice means daring to drop this role and admit, sometimes, I am also selfish. Sometimes, I am also the one who hurts others. Sometimes, I am also the source of the problem. Saying this does not make you worthless. It makes you honest. It gives you the chance to actually change rather than just complain. Third, the person who always thinks, if they change, my life will finally be better. If my partner would just be more understanding, I would not be so angry. If my parents were kinder, I would not be so cold. If my coworkers were less incompetent, I would not be so frustrated. Of course, other people's behavior affects us. It is not wrong to want respect, kindness, and support. But when you put all your emotional balance in other people's hands, you give away your power. Your peace depends completely on someone else changing. That means if they never change, you will never be okay. Real practice begins when you ask, even if they do not change, what can I change in my own way of seeing, reacting, and choosing? Maybe you can change how much time you spend with them. Maybe you can change how much you expect from them. Maybe you can change the meaning you give to their behavior. Maybe you can change how you talk to yourself when they trigger you. Every small shift in your own heart is a piece of your power returning to you. This does not mean we have to pretend others have no faults. Real practice is not blind tolerance. Real practice is clear seeing without hatred. You can see that someone is irresponsible and still not ground yourself in contempt. You can see that someone is toxic and still not fill your heart with revenge. You can see that someone is deeply unconscious and still understand that their behavior comes from their own pain and confusion. You can see clearly and still choose to step back with a clean heart rather than a polluted one. Earning the light back to your own mind does not mean self-blame. It means self-responsibility. Self-blame says, everything is my fault. I am terrible. Self-responsibility says, I cannot control others. but I can learn from my reactions and make wiser choices. Self-blame makes you small and weak. Self-responsibility makes you honest and strong. When you notice that you are always thinking, "You're the problem," you can practice one small but powerful step. Add one more question. Yes, maybe they really did something wrong. But what is this showing me about myself? For example, they never listen to me. What is this showing me? Maybe I have a habit of trying to control others. Maybe I have not learned to speak in a way that reaches their heart. Maybe I choose people who are emotionally unavailable because deep down I am also afraid of real intimacy. They always take advantage of me. What is this showing me? Maybe I have weak boundaries. Maybe I say yes when I mean to. Maybe I'm afraid that if I stop giving, I will lose life, so I tolerate disrespect. They keep judging me. What is this showing me? Maybe I am too dependent on others' opinions. Maybe I judge myself even more harshly inside, so their judgment sticks to my own inner critic. In each of these, the other person's behavior is only half the story. The other half is written in your own beliefs, fears, and habits. When you start to question those, something magical happens. Even if the other person does not change at all, your suffering begins to decrease. Because much of your suffering was not from the raw event itself, but from the story your mind added to it. There is a deep spiritual phrase that says, "When you point at others, 3 fingers point back at you." This is not meant to shame you. It is meant to remind you that every time you criticize someone, you are also revealing something about yourself. And you say, "They are so fake." Task, where do I feel forced to be fake in my own life? When you say, "They are so arrogant." Task, then which area am I secretly arrogant? And you say, "They are so lazy." Task, where in my own life am I avoiding responsibility? This kind of honest questioning is uncomfortable at first. Your ego will resist. It will say, "Oh, this is nonsense. Really, I'm better than them." But if you stick with it, you will begin to experience a strange relief. Because the moment you admit that you are not perfect, you no longer have to exhaust yourself maintaining the image of perfection. The moment you see your own faults clearly, other people's faults no longer shock you so much. You stop wasting energy being offended by the simple fact that humans are imperfect. And criticism transforms into understanding. You see a rude person and think, "They must be suffering a lot to be so harsh." You see a show-off and think, "They must feel very insecure inside to need this much attention." You see a liar and think, "They must be very afraid of truth." You still protect yourself. You still set boundaries, but you do not carry them inside your heart like poisons. Real practice is not only sitting with eyes closed on a cushion. Real practice is what happens in the exact moment when someone irritates you, hurts you, triggers you. The moment your heart jumps, that is your classroom. You do not need to wait for a pilgrimage or a retreat. Your life is your retreat. Your family is your retreat. Your job is your retreat. Every young person is a guest teacher of your inner school. The question is, do you want to learn, or do you want to repeat the same grade forever? If you choose to learn, here are some very practical ways to turn the light back to your own mind in daily life. First, when something happens and you want to immediately complain, pause. Take one slow breath in your feeling before you name the other person's problem. Instead of saying, "You are so selfish," say silently to yourself, "I feel hurt, feel unseen, feel angry." This step alone changes everything. When you name your own feeling, you start to own it instead of throwing it onto the other person. You can then choose how to respond instead of just reacting. Second, ask yourself, what exactly am I expecting from this person? Is my expectation realistic? Sometimes, the problem is not that the other person is packed. It is that your expectation is too pure for the reality of who they are. You are expecting long-term honesty from someone who has never shown any honesty. You are expecting emotional depth from someone who has never looked inside themselves. You are expecting reliability from someone who cannot even manage their own life. When you see this clearly, you stop trying to draw water from a stone. You adjust your expectations or your distance accordingly. You stop fighting with it, and that saves you a tremendous amount of suffering. Third, practice this sentence in your heart. This is their karma, and this is mine. Their behavior is their karma. Your reaction is your karma. If they lie, cheat, betray, manipulate, that is their karma. You will face the results of those actions sooner or later. You do not need to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Or karma is how you respond. You respond with the same lies and revenge. Or do you respond by protecting yourself, learning the lesson, and refusing to become like them? When you focus on your karma, you put your energy where it can actually make a difference, your own heart. Fourth, find even one small place where you can honestly say, I also have this tendency. Someone's pride triggers you. Find where your own pride lies. Someone's laziness triggers you. Find where your own laziness hides. Someone's controlling behavior triggers you. Find where you also try to control others. This does not mean you excuse them. It means you see that you are not completely separate from what you hate. That recognition softens your heart and breaks the illusion that you are uniquely righteous. Start each day with a simple intention today. I will look at myself at least as much as I look at others. You can even imagine folding a small mirror in your heart. Every time you want to talk about someone's fault, you mentally lift that mirror for a second and ask, what inside me is calling this in? Over time, this habit becomes a kind of inner hygiene. Just as you wash your face every morning, you start washing your mind from the dirt of constant blame. None of this means you stop seeing injustice or abuse. It does not mean you accept bad treatment silently forever. In fact, the more you know yourself, the more clearly you will see when something is truly unhealthy. And from that clarity, you will be more able to leave or change the situation without grounding in grime. Because here is another secret. When you are always sure that others are the problem, you become surprisingly easy to manipulate. People can control you by controlling your anger. They can push your buttons and make you react in ways that hurt you. But when you know your own buttons, when you have explored your own wounds, when you have taken responsibility for your own triggers, you become much harder to control. Someone insults you, and instead of exploding, you notice your reaction and decide calmly how to respond. Someone ignores you, and instead of drowning in self-pity, you see the full wound and hold yourself with compassion. Someone tries to provoke you, and instead of jumping into the game, you smile and step back. That is real freedom. So, if you have spent many years thinking, why is everyone so problematic? Maybe life is gently inviting you now to ask, why am I so attached to seeing everyone as problematic? What does that identity give you? Is it make you feel superior? Is it protect you from admitting your own mistakes? Is it excuse you from trying to change yourself? So, then that identity is not really protecting you. It is trapping you. The moment you dare to say, I am also part of the problem, you become capable of being part of the solution. You stop living as a permanent judge sitting on a high seat, pending at everyone who passes by. You step down from that seat and join the messy, beautiful work of being a human who is learning, falling, getting up, apologizing, forgiving and growing. From up on the judge's seat, everyone looks small. From down here on the ground, everyone looks much more like you. And strangely, that makes it easier to love them. Not with a naive love that ignores harm, but with a realistic love that knows everyone is carrying invisible burdens. The one who gossips is desperate for attention. The one who attacks is desperate for protection. The one who manipulates is desperate for control because they feel powerless. Again, Understanding this does not mean you must stay close to them, but it changes the quality of your heart as you step away. You leave not with bitterness, but with clarity and a kind of sad compassion. In the end, the most powerful spiritual practice is very simple. Whenever your mind wants to fly out to examine others, gently guide it back home. Ask, what is happening in here? The outside world may never become exactly the way you want. People will continue to have flaws. There will always be selfishness, arrogance, ignorance, and pain around you. But if you learn to see your own mind clearly, you will not be tossed around so violently by all of that. You will know when the problem is truly outside and needs to be addressed, and when the real storm is inside and needs to be calmed. You will complain less and understand more. You will judge less and observe more. You will blame less and take responsibility more. And one day, without even realizing exactly when it happened, you will notice that the sentence "everyone has a problem" has quietly transformed into "everyone is on a journey, including me." When that happens, your whole way of living changes. You will choose your battles more wisely. You will choose your words more gently. You will choose your companions more carefully. Worst of all, you will choose, again and again, to turn the light back to your own mind. Not to torture yourself, not to blame yourself for everything, but to honor the truth that the only place you can genuinely practice, genuinely change, and genuinely find freedom is here, in your own heart.
There are moments when you see something, and your heart simply whispers, "This one is meant for me." Bracelet carries more than beads. It carries intention, protection, and quiet strength. Something to guide your thoughts and keep your spirit steady. If you felt that gentle pull toward any of the bracelets shown, the purchase link is waiting in the description, and the full collection is displayed on our channel store. Follow your intuition. It rarely leads you wrong.